Welcome to Home Talk USA. This is the Invent America show right here on the Home Talk USA radio family. I want to welcome all of you across this great country of ours. And again, I do want to put a big shout out to that big, powerful Vermont station that's actually listening to the show right now. All the great new audience that we have, WBTN 1370 AM, and also simulcast at 96.5 FM in Bennington, Vermont. So welcome all of you to the very best of home improvement information and education. And now I'd like to welcome my partner in crime, the inventor lady herself, Miss Rita Crompton. Hey, Rita, how you doing?
I am fine. Oh my goodness. It's so good to hear your voice. You always make me think of a good meal when I hear you talking.
I tell you what Rita's referring to, I'm also a certified five-star chef, as you know, and I have a big catering company down in New Orleans. And on the weekend, I cook every weekend for weddings. And I just had the opportunity this weekend. We have one of the oldest theaters called the Sanger Theater in New Orleans. It goes back into the Abraham Lincoln days. You know what I mean? It's that old. And we did the catering for a famous band. And believe it or not, they won't allow me to say the name. You believe that?
Yeah.
The restrictions that you have on these. But I actually catered it for this famous band. And I had a great time. We had some great food, Cajun Creole food. So that's what Rita is referenced. But Rita, a lot going on in our industry right now. I wish, sometimes when my producer of Home Talk USA schedules our guests, I really don't get involved till an hour before showtime. And that last guest I had, Mr. Carl Sellers, I know you came in at the tail end of this conversation. And I was listening to this man talk. It's Red House Tools, but they developed a saw system for a mitering saw. But the point I'm making, he demonstrated what exactly we've been talking about for over 20 years and at least 10 years with you on this show, exactly what he did and how he did it. And he actually did it by accident. He didn't have a blueprint. And I said, man, Cal, I'm glad you reinforce what me and the Inventor Lady has been talking about for 10 years and how you brought it to market and didn't make the mistakes that you lucked out but he did have a little background a little bit. So he eliminated the mistakes, but he basically said, man, but I wish I had you and the Inventor Lady that I wouldn't have had to spend a year and a half to even think about it, how to do it. Man, I could have just listened to the show and figured it out in 10 minutes. That's a regular good compliment there.
That is a good compliment. It certainly is. What amazes me is how, Home Talk USA leads into Invent America, because so many of your guests are inventors. They've got these small businesses across America, and and when I sit in for you, I get to talk to these really cool guys that have invented these products. And a lot of times they are made right here in America. So now they fit into the Made in America segment. And the crossover with our 3 hours just continues to amaze me and make me smile because, I've got a guest on. They could as easily be your guest. They could as easily be Greg's guest. And it is wonderful.
Well, yeah. And it's just part of the system where they're at in their system or where they're at in their process. You follow what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Home Talk, very established. Company's been there a while. Blah, blah, blah. Invent America, it's trying to put it together. And then Made in America is if you made it in the United States. So it kind of, where you at in the process. But hey, let's talk about what you want to talk about, options for fulfillment. What that's about, Rita?
Well, inventors, they're getting teed up and they figure, their patent, their prototype. And then they think, oh, like Wendi, it's like, okay, I think I'm going to get some of these made. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean I've got to store them somewhere? And so that's what we're talking about today is that fulfillment. I know that, Brandon has gone through that. He is our second guest. Wendi has just figured out how she's going to do it. But a lot of inventors, they will start with one plan simply because they're new and they're just getting to it. Well, how do they get it teed up? At what point then do they pull that trigger and have somebody else do it? And so our industry expert is PacWell Manufacturing. And even though it's got manufacturing on the name, that's kind of a misleading because they do packaging right here in the US. So that'd be a great guest for, made in the USA. But they also do fulfillment for our inventors, and they really specialize in those inventors and those small runs because her grandfather was an inventor. And so there's lots of crossover, and we love being able to bring all of, this information and answers to inventors because a lot of times they haven't thought about this and put it into their budget, and they need to.
Well, if we could catch them before they waste and throw away their money and spend money unnecessarily, if we can grab them before, then maybe they'll have some money to put in our show. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right.
Hey, you're broke. Well, the common thing, well, King, I want to help your show. People don't realize the amount of money it takes to keep the show on air. We need sponsors, but all our guests, we don't charge them to be on a radio program. On this show, we're looking to do the very best possible show. But at the end of the day, I don't mind telling my audience, we need dollars. I mean, maybe I need to start dolling for dollars. But, hey, Les, welcome to Home Talk USA. We're dolling for dollars today. But, but at the end of the day, we don't want them to spend that money unnecessarily. We want them to follow the blueprint that we gave them on this show. And I'm so proud because I think that we laid out a good blueprint of how to get your product to market.
We have, and there's so many times inventors will call me and they'll tell me, what they were advised, and I'm thinking, if I could reach out with a stick and whack that service provider upside of the head, I would do it. And then certainly not admit it on air, who I was going after. But oh my goodness, there is so much bad advice out there. And, inventors don't know. They just, it's not like you can go to school on how to be an inventor, although there's doing more schools. And I get to do a video for a student program in California this week to teach the parents what to do for their kids that are inventing products in school. Wow. And so I'm really excited about that. But it's wonderful to get the information out there and then to get the inventors. It's like, I've got another idea. I've got another project. And they come right away because they've learned some of, through some of the mistakes, and we've helped get them back on track.
The reason why I wanted to start the Invent America part of Home Talk USA is because over the years, and we had this discussion, me and you and Rita, about a lot of these entrepreneurs and inventors, when they go to these trade shows, a lot of them don't even know how they're going to get home, to be honest with you. They got their whole life invested in this. And it's a shame they made so many mistakes that they're simply out of money. And when they got out of money, that their product can't go to market. And that's a shame, is what I'm saying.
It is. It's unfortunate. And, there's a difference when I get to an inventor who says, all right, I've hit a max and I don't want to spend any more. Or when they say, I'm out of money. Two very different animals. And, I always go through an inventor's budget and say, okay, if this is what you're estimating, double the time, double the money, and now you're kind of in the ballpark. So those are the things that we look at as being determiners on what somebody's got to deal with.
Well, I remember 15 years ago, there was a product that measured how to install a door, how to cut it. It's something that's only like $4. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was an amazing technology, and he was broke, and his product was not going to come to market. And I never forget, I went over about 3 rows down at the trade show, and I knew that he can get this thing licensed. And I actually talked him, and I never get involved in people's companies, but I actually talked him into it. And I told him, go over there, license it with them. You're broke. You ain't going to bring it to market, but this is a great technology. And I'm still waiting for my check from him. But,
sorry, you might be waiting a while longer.
I might be waiting a long time.
I didn't do that. So,
but my contractor friends love me because when they go to Home Depot and buy it, they say, well, I was the reason why the product is on the shelf anyway. But hey, we got to take a short break. This is Invent America, part of the Home Talk USA radio family. Me and the Inventor Lady will be right back. Yay! Yeah, hey, welcome back to Home Talk USA. This is the Invent America show, along with my guest, or Inventor Lady herself, Rita Crompton. Don't forget, this segment of the show is sponsored by Summit Chemical. Summit, the maker of the Mosquito Dunks and Mosquito Bit, the most effective mosquito control solutions on the market today. Think summitchemical.com. All right, Rita, man, I'm excited to talk to Wendi Short. So why don't you introduce Wendi for us?
Well, Wendi has got a really cool product, and everybody keeps hammering on her. When will we be able to get this? The product is called Float No More. She had her debut out at ASD Market Week last year and wasn't really sure how things were going to go over. And I am not kidding, without, no pun intended, it was a big splash. Everybody was real excited about getting their hands on this product, Wendi. So thank you so much for being with us today, and let everybody know, what is Float No More?
Thank you, Rita. Appreciate it. So Float No More is a hot tub and physical therapy product that helps you with your buoyancy problems in any kind of spa or hot tub. So some of us, including myself, have problems with floating away in some of our hot tub seats. So we have to tighten our muscles or brace ourselves against other parts of the hot tub, or put your arms out on the sides just to stay fully seated in a hot tub. So I personally couldn't even be in a lounger without floating away. So this go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I understand, because I get into a hot tub to, enjoy my grandkids, but relaxing is not part of it because I can't stay in it without floating to the top. And
definitely.
So I definitely get the problem. And it's like, by the way, and I want one of those as soon as they come in. And there's a whole bunch of people that are waiting for you.
I know. I have people just saying, when is it going to happen? And so you will be my first sale. But this product,
awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah. So, as you're going through this with your first order, you've had to figure out how to deal with fulfillment. And
yes.
So, you were looking at a variety of issues, the cost of it, what does it entail, the numbers. I mean, you've got 2,000 coming in, not 20,000. So, explain to us a little bit about why you made the decision that you did.
Sure. Mainly, it did come down to a financial decision for myself. Like you said, I'm new. I'm a new inventor, my first product. So I vetted several 3PL companies, the ones that will stock it for you, house it for you, keep it for you when orders come in through whatever means you have. Then they go and they process those orders too. To me, those numbers were a little bit cost prohibitive, at least for my first order, just my first order. So I plan to fulfill my orders myself to begin with. And that took several steps in my head to actually wrangle through. By the time 2,000 of these arrive at my doorstep, so to speak. So it's a little overwhelming, but I'm a project manager by day. So it was just another project. So I decided I could fulfill the orders myself and really learn a lot more about supporting my own business by doing it initially. So I have my storage. I have a forklift to move my pallets upon delivery and a forklift driver to do it. So,
and you really had to look at that weight, because you went through some different decision making. It's like, well, it's going to be expensive to ship it because in order to hold you in a hot tub, it's got to have enough weight to do it. Well, then you multiply that times 2,000. You've got a heavy package coming for delivery. So, it's like, all right, well, I'm not going to load these myself into a storage unit. So what am I going to do?
Exactly. I am actually, do you want to know?
Yeah, well, tell everybody, what are you doing?
It's kind of grassroots, but I'm going to try it. And if it's a decision, it's fully on me. I honestly have a local storage unit. And since my product doesn't need to be refrigerated or anything, I just need to, like you said, it's heavy. It's about 8.5 pounds to one of them to ship. So take that in a pallet of 84, and that's one heavy box. So I have to rent a forklift and rent a forklift driver and trust that person can get it into that storage unit accurately. And I've kind of already just designed it out of how many will fit, so I know how big it has to be. And I will take the orders myself, like as they come in, transfer them to my home and do that grassroots operation as some of our inventors do.
Well, and that's very It is challenging, but when you are basically a problem solver because you're a project manager, you say, all right, well, this is a problem. Here's my options. This is the one I'm going to go with. At what point do you figure you are going to have someone else do the fulfillment for you? So, what are your goals? What's the plan, Wendi?
Yes. Depending upon the speed of selling this first order, like you said, my first order is 2,000. I was hoping for 500, but they wanted 2,000, so I said, okay. So depending on how fast it sells, likely on order two, I can transfer that into a 3PL place, or upon any licensing deal, of course. But I need to have enough sales behind me to make sure that that becomes an option. So I'm
Right.
not
And
going to do it forever.
that's a good thing to let everyone know is that, all right, you're doing this first order yourself. There's a possibility that we'll have a licensing deal in place by the time a second order needs to be placed. It depends on how fast they go. If they're, honestly gone by, January, you probably not. But we can always
Mhm.
hope that they'll be, licensed by January because people are going crazy over getting their hands on this.
They really are. I was very surprised, pleasantly surprised. But I went to my first hot tub dealer, and he asked me how many pallets he could buy, and I just stammered for about 4 seconds and said, "You know what? I put my first order in. We will make sure we get as many pallets as you need, and we'll make that happen." So,
Well, and that's
yeah.
gosh, when you're an inventor and you put money into the patents and everything that's got to be done, and what you want to be able to do is know that you can fill those orders, but you've got people waiting for them. That's a wonderful place to be.
Yes, it's very exciting. So my website should be up and running shortly, and then I can start working on presence on social media. So.
And we're going to help you with that. So as soon as your website is up, we are going to do video with you and you'll be able to show everyone exactly what you have. And we can send them then to your website for ordering. Are you going to be doing any e-commerce right now?
Right this minute, no, but in the future, definitely. I think that's accurate
All right. All
statement.
right.
Yes.
That sounds good. So, all right, everybody, stick with us. We have got another inventor coming up who's got a product out there. In the meantime, though, if you've got questions, join us at the Inventor Roundtable meetings. We do 2 a month, do them virtually. So we will have inventors that you can visit with, ask questions, service providers that you can get information from. And if you would like to be on the radio, Mondays come around every week, and I need 2 new guests to be on the radio show, and it is free for all of our inventors. So reach out, let me know. And if you need a service provider, we have them as well. Good vetted service providers, so you don't end wasting thousands of dollars on a bad one. Stick with us, everybody. We will be right back.
Welcome back to Home Talk USA with Michael King. Do you have questions about your next home improvement project or home repairs? Now you can chat with verified home repair and home improvement experts in just minutes. Get the help you need with HomeTalk.expert. That's HomeTalk.expert. We invite you to visit us at HomeTalkUSA.com, one of the best resources for home improvement information around today. Your best life begins with your best home, and there's no place like Home Talk. That's HomeTalkUSA.com. And now, back to the #1 home improvement radio program in the country with the man from the Bayou Land, your host, the Cajun contractor, Michael King.
Hello, America, and thank you so much for being with us for this segment of Invent America. Why? Because America invents, and every single one of you out there listening participates in this. You are either an inventor or a consumer, or sometimes both. And we want to share with you all of the products so that you can support that innovation in the American economy. And right now we are talking to Brandon Kollar. He is an inventor, imagine that. And he is the one that introduced me to our industry expert who will be on in a few minutes. But Brandon, tell everybody about your invention and thank you for being with us.
Definitely. Thanks for hosting, Rita. During the shutdown, I invented a gun product to help other people because I struggled with something I was trying to do. And so I developed it from scratch, put some rapid prototyping together, and now I'm a patented inventor. I've had a couple of magazine articles, radio appearances, and continuing to go every month because I saw positive feedback. So I wanted to keep pushing it and advancing the product, and now trying to go out with new models.
Excellent, excellent. So, you've been doing this now for a while, all right, getting the product out there. And I got kudos to you for doing this during the pandemic, because there were a lot of inventors that said, well, we got to wait and see what happens. You went right into it, and thumbs up for that. Where are you, when did you decide to use someone else for fulfillment? I know that you met PacWell for your packaging, and they saved you on your retail pricing big time on that. And I appreciate the introduction. But tell us more now about fulfillment.
So I'm still currently doing my own fulfillment. I'm only in my first 2,900 units of production. So I've sold about 2,900 units, and then some of my small orders come in as onesie twosies on my e-commerce and my affiliate links. And then when I get my big orders of 500, it's all hands on deck trying to work towards that, bringing in production schedules around the clock, and then shipping it out, because it's fun. You give someone a timeline of, say, 5.5 weeks, and then you get a contract the next day that's 3 weeks. And it's like, that's not what we discussed. And then it's up to you as an inventor to figure it out, request help, and make things work out. So that's always fun. And then I work to keep track of inventory. I work on my customer experience, because customers want tracking. I want tracking when I order something. So I want to make sure as soon as I get the order from them, I put in tracking numbers for them. And I do a lot that I'm actually shipping this out and putting it in the mail every morning before I leave when I get orders, which has also actually made content for me, because I'll take a picture of me at the post office with the flag, and I kind of compile those at the end of the month, like, hey, I'm shipping out units. And it's kind of encouraging that, hey, something's happening and people are wanting my product.
Okay, let's just back up there a little bit for clarification. When you are fulfilling orders, these are wholesale or retail?
All three. So end users, wholesalers, and retailers. Because some of the retailers I'll actually go out myself and wholesale to talk to them, say, hey, would you like to carry this product? Here's your margin. Here's how it works. Here's shipping weight. Here is minimum orders. And I'll either personally deliver those, or I've even got some online orders from bigger orders where they want to try it out themselves. And so I ship it to them in certain packages. And then also doing the wholesale, that's a pallet. So I'd actually worked with some local manufacturers that could do a bill of landing with me and then ship out an entire pallet of the product, because I couldn't do that out of my personal house. But 500 of my units definitely does take up a pallet of space.
All right. So where is your space? I mean, we're still thinking fulfillment here. Is your garage, your basement? Is it a storehouse?
Still garage.
Still in the garage. And your wife loves that because she's got to park in the driveway, huh?
That, and then also I had a machine go down, so I ended up buying an emergency machine during a time I had to fill an order. So now I have even less space.
Oh, yeah. I know I had inventors that said, well, I've got 25,000 of these in my basement, and I'm going to be giving them away as Christmas gifts because I got the packaging all wrong. And so as we go into packaging, because I know that that's what PacWell did for you, how did you shift from, that, all right, I can sell this any way I want it and put it in a Ziploc bag, to being able to get something that looked professional then for you?
So originally I put it in a comic book case, which was costing me about $2.60 a piece, and it looked decent, but my product was also, to give you, it was landscape versus portrait. And so it didn't look well on the shelf because the way the comic book case was vertical. And then I sent this to PacWell with Robin, and then she made me my own packaging. She put it the way it needs to go. Her graphic designer did an awesome job taking my flyers and what I had already had to make it look retail ready, and putting the SKU number in the exact same spot for the barcode. And so that saved me over $2 a unit. And then recently, I didn't get to tell her, but because the shipping dropped down the amount of space it took up, I got to start using a smaller envelope. So I saved additional money there, because United States Postal Service shipping rates have gone up recently. So that's even something to consider for inventors, is making sure you can get this in a nice envelope or smaller box for your product. Because luckily the retail part of it folds over. So it actually folds over with the product to save space versus something that's a label that jars out or extends even more.
Well, and you mentioned something that, depending on where the inventor is in filling orders, where you've got the barcode, and the different information that's got to go on the packaging for a retailer versus a consumer, because a consumer doesn't care if there's a barcode on it. The inventory numbers on them, they don't care. But if you are selling to a retailer, you've got to make sure that you've got the information on the package they require.
You definitely do, and then you can't wholesale with different places because they have to have that barcode to add into their system. Or if it's a big fulfillment system, they scan it the same way, or the robots scan that product the same way, that, hey, it's got to be on the lower right-hand corner. And you're listening to them like, oh, that makes sense for you. But if that doesn't work with your current product, when it's going past these scanners at 30 miles per hour, it looks like it wouldn't work. And so that's something to consider when you're dealing with distribution and some of the big players, that, hey, you might have to do something, or a cover sheet on your product to make it work for them. And that was something I didn't know until it was too late, or I had to hear about that secondhand. So it's something to be prepared for.
Absolutely. I mean, we've run into this multiple times with, inventors will say, well, wait a minute. What do you mean? How much is it? I say, it's not that big a deal. It's okay. You can get one. But if you've got multiple products, I've got one lady, she's got the same version in, like 12 different colors and sizes. And it's like, you need one for each one. And she goes, well, can't I just go out and count the colors? And it's like, it's not for you to count, silly. It is for the retailers to count. Oh, okay. That makes difference. So it's funny when inventors start realizing, it's complicated. It's a lot of work.
Makes it fun, though. Makes it fun and challenging, because it means you're moving orders and making things happen versus it just sitting there. So
what do you do next, Brandon? What are you looking for next? Where do you want to get your, orders built up to, and how do you plan to do it?
The next is going to be actually releasing more models, because I found out that to have more retail space at big box stores, they actually want you to have like a whole little section. And they actually have all those sections already priced out at $71 a square foot per month and all that good stuff. So they've got a lot of that worked out, but they also like to be able to have the branding going together. So right now I'm working on 2 more models so that I can actually be more approachable to the big box stores, so that it can sit there on the shelf and people can pick the one that they actually want or need versus being a one-trick pony.
All right, great. Well, I know that you've gone to a lot of different shows. And that to find retailers, that's where you've had the most luck, right?
A couple of magazine articles that then led into bigger orders, and then because then they wanted to wholesale it to other places. And so that's when I've had my most success, is when people wanted 500 units. And of course, that's also a lot of back and forth that people aren't prepared for. It's not just, hey, you want this. This could be 2.5 months of negotiations, samples, overnight photography. And so be prepared that it's a little bit more effort than people think. It might be some back and forth.
Yeah, no kidding. So if you are out there and you've got a product, we are getting geared up for ASD Market Week. It is a wonderful trade show. That's where Wendi got all of her encouragement last year. So if you know someone or you're interested in joining our team, please let me know right away. And we are going to take a quick break. We will be back in a couple of minutes with our industry expert, Robin Adelman from PacWell Manufacturing. Brandon, thanks so much for being with us, and all of America, we will be right back. Hey, America, thanks so much for being with us for this segment of Invent America. And this segment is being sponsored by Bond Products. It is the DIY carpet binding, and there is only one Instabind. So if you are having issues with your carpet, bondproducts.com is where you want to go. Our next guest is our industry expert. This is always a fun part of the show where we can actually talk to an expert about the different issues that inventors are facing. And PacWell Manufacturing does a variety of things, but I think it's so cool that your grandfather invented the blister pack. And so from there, you have gone on to helping inventors do all kinds of things. So Robin, thanks so much for being with us, and tell us a little bit about PacWell Manufacturing.
Sure. Thanks, Rita. So we are a one-stop shop for retail packaging. We manufacture the sealing equipment. We also manufacture any type of packaging that you need, boxes, bags, blister packs, and we also do fulfillment. So our fulfillment it basically covers e-commerce fulfillment. We offer a software integration. We also offer services like kitting, labeling, drop shipping, and the custom packaging if they need it, and also managing your returns.
So, I've mentioned several times about the fact that you guys really will handhold an inventor, because inventors, they don't always know. And, it's like, Wendi is doing hers, that first round herself, which a lot of inventors do. And then as their business starts to grow and they're thinking, oh, shoot me now, I don't want to do this anymore. They can hand it off to you guys. And, with the packaging that you do, which is amazing that everything is done right here in the US, how do you work then that fulfillment for an inventor to really help them grow?
Yes. So I'd say the large thing is we don't have any minimums, and there's no long-term contracts. We really try to be accommodating to these inventors because we know where they're coming from, and we know all the challenges that have come before them, and we're trying to help them the easiest way possible to get their product on the market. So, I mean, so ultimately my power just went out here. Sorry about that.
That's all right. That's all right. We've still got you.
Yeah. Ultimately, a customer has no idea how their package is being, packed and everything that goes in behind the scenes. But all they know is they got it in the mail. So our job is to make sure that they get their package and it's packed safely, and the inventor knows that we can handle that for them.
Well, I think it's really amazing that you can do both a large order for wholesale to a retailer, but that you can then do the e-commerce individual sales. So I've got a question for you. I have had a couple of inventors ask if they are selling, and there's an order that comes from Canada, there's an order that comes from, someplace in Europe. Can you fill those orders?
Yeah, it's all part of our software, and it integrates into their website, and the order comes in and it just pops out a label, and we do all the paperwork and then ships off to them.
Okay, so for anybody out there listening that wants to share some information with an inventor that they know who's been complaining about fulfillment for overseas, out of the country orders, that is a big deal, because there are all kinds of paperwork that's got to be done, claims that have got to be made, and PacWell Manufacturing will do that for you. That is amazing, Robin. It's I hear that so often. It's like, well, how do I do this? And how do I do that? It's like, call Robin. She can help.
And if it's something we don't know, we will try our best to figure out what it is with you.
And that helps a lot. I know that we've had a couple of inventors that have said, well, I'm doing this kind of new packaging, and the first thing I do is give you a call and say, okay, who do we contact for this kind of packaging?
Right. Yep. And we will talk them through the whole process, hold their hand.
Well, and we appreciate that, because, inventors, this is hard work for our inventors, and they don't know what they don't know. And we don't want them to make mistakes. And because then they back up and, it's like the gentleman that told me he's got 25,000 boxes in his basement and nothing to put in them because nobody wants to stock his product in a box. So, it's like, yeah, I feel really sorry for you, dude, but you could have called me 5 years ago and I would have said, you might want to call your, retailer and find out how they would want that product box. Retailers get to choose.
Yes. Yes.
And the other thing is, it is not unusual for one retailer to choose one type of packaging and another retailer to want a different type of packaging.
Yeah, and we are familiar with all the big, chain stores and what their requirements are. So we're able to help guide you in those directions.
So one of the things that we've noticed is, packaging, they're requesting that packaging is less and less.
Yep.
And so how do you manage that?
Well, so it depends on the store and it depends on their requirements. And so if you're putting a box with a bag in it and all these things, we can, we can create something that would do the same purpose, but with less material, with different materials. And I mean, that's pretty much it.
Well, we always laugh because we say, well, if they've ordered it off of Amazon, you could put it in a Ziploc bag. They don't care how it gets. So, do you find that you can use less expensive packaging for the e-commerce as opposed to what's got to go onto a retail shelf?
Yes. And I think Amazon over the last few years really has changed that and had less packaging. Like you said, we have put stuff in poly bags and just slapped a label on the outside of it, not even with a box. So it has changed into that, but you couldn't do that in a retail store. So every store is different.
Yeah, I can see Ziploc bags hanging there with no labels on them. Say, pick your enemy there, But as we become more conscious of the ecosystem and waste, and the cost of that, I mean, just the cost of the packaging itself has gone up. So as we become more eco-friendly, it tends to be a little bit more dollar friendly to us as well. Do you find that?
Yeah, I mean, we have found ways to lower costs even on eco-friendly by just using mostly paper instead of using plastic. So, and that's really helped a lot. We did have a client recently who was getting all our packaging and product from China, and they were paying $2 all in for each one, and we were able to lower the cost on that dramatically, even doing in the US.
Well, excellent. Thank you, Robin, so much for being with us. We will have
Thank
you
you.
on again. Everyone, thank you for joining us for this segment of Invent America. And join us again next week when we will have a new topic, new inventors, and a new expert on.